I'm Jim Collison and live from Omaha, Nebraska, and the Gallup office is in Singapore as well as Hong Kong. This is Gallup's Call to Coach, recorded on August 11th, 2014. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactic, insight, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you have questions, comments, or contributions during the webcast, we do have a live chat room available. It's right below the main video window, or you can log in and join us for the conversation. If you're listening to the recorded version, or if you have questions about custom strengths coaching solutions for small, medium, or large organizations, contact us, coaching@gallup.com, or use the contact page at coaching.gallup.com. Don't forget to visit the Gallup Strengths Center. Just Gallup-Strengthscenter.com for all your coaching resources and training needs. And you can also catch the video and both streaming and now downloadable audio for offline listening to past shows all over at coaching.gallup.com. Sarv Atri is our host today. He works as the Strengths Evangelist in Singapore. And Sarv, great to see you today, and welcome back to Call to Coach.
Thank you so much, Jim. Yes, I'm really excited to be back here. It's a very good morning from Singapore to all people who are logged in live or who may be listening to the recorded version of this one. And like I said, I'm glad to be back on our Southeast Asia edition after a couple of months. These have been exciting times. We've recently launched our strengths courses in Auckland in New Zealand, where I had the privilege of being part of that. And leading that one, and also Korea, which we just recently launched last month, and we had some great reviews for both these courses. And like I said, I think from our perspective, the power and passion shown by the coaches in both these courses have been inspiring us, and it kind of helps us reinstate our belief in the impact strengths is making to the world. And from that perspective, we have our guest today actually in Hong Kong, and that's where our next course is being launched in the region from the 15th till the 18th of September. And Rita Chan, it's my privilege to introduce her to the audience today. She's an experienced human resource leader with over 20 years of experience at global organizations in Asia, and she's also one of our first Gallup-Certified Strengths Coaches in Hong Kong, and literally, taking strengths to Asia and especially in Hong Kong. So, and she's been coaching senior leaders, executives, managers, and teams, and also parents, where she helps organizations build strength-based culture and coaching capabilities. And also, she starts all of that at her home. So she's also a mother of two teenager boys and a supportive husband. And I think she does coaching for them too. So we'd love to hear more from the corporate side of things, but also from her personal side of things. And from her background, she graduated with a Bachelor of Accountancy from City University. She's a certified result coach, a brain-based coaching. She's one of the first certified coaches in Greater China region, and an NLP master, accredited facilitator for leadership effective assessment. So she's got diverse experience across multiple coaching tools. Without further ado, let me put across to Rita. Rita, thank you so much for taking time out of a busy schedule to come and talk to us and to the coaches today. We'd love to hear your strengths journey, and we'll maybe start off with your top 5 first.
Yeah, thank you, Saraf. Thank you, Jim, for introducing. Yes, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to speak in here to share my strength experience and my journey. And my top 5 is achiever. With what Saraf has introduced me, it sounds like a busy bio, isn't it? I've done a lot. Simply, I really, really like, being achieving and do a lot. And I keep myself learning, all the time. And that keeps me fascinating and being pumping and energized as well. I'm also a maximizer. I have to say, out of the top 5, since maximizers really, come on the call, is really in my blood. Whenever I see something that happened, I always believe it can be better. We just simply look for continuous improvement, and that keep the busy parts going and fun as well. My third strength, is arranger, where that helps me to keep things moving, and that's a dynamic. And ideation and futuristics are the other 2. And that's all coming to me, and that's keep me going all the time and having fun with people. And I don't know where this idea coming from. It's just born with me, and that's my talent, and that keep me going as well.
Great. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. Rita, we would also love to hear more about your strengths journey. How did you, having had experience to so many different tools, got hold of Strengths Finder, and how did you kind of, start with that and your experience of just going through the course, coaching other individuals, and then we can talk about, your work as well.
Yeah, definitely. I think, strengths coaching come into the last play of my, not my end of the journey, but pretty much the most recent journey that I got accredited by Gallup. In my, throughout my HR career, I think I've got the luxury to try out different tools because I've got organization to help and people that I want to develop until I find, Strength Finder as per se. I felt all the rest of the tool that I have been having is giving me the what, which is coming into play and say, okay, fine, that's the what. But it doesn't answer the question why as per se, all right? Some tools do give me some good handle of how should I use it, but question is that it still doesn't answer the question why, all right? And I think being an experienced HR professional as well as a coach, the why is very, very important. And throughout my years of coaching, I think the why actually helped people to enlighten as well. And basically, answer all the questions that you have in mind and, by searching your life purpose and things like that. And as by far, until I really touch on the Strength Finder, the first touch I was 4 or 5 years ago when we have it for our team building exercise. Then we brought in Strength Finder. That was a time when Gallup hasn't been offering open courses, where a colleague who worked for an organization who used Strength Finder in their organization actually helped to bring it in, introduced to us. I found it extremely helpful already in those days where we improve our communication, building better awareness on how to interact with people, understanding why, some people will react in such a manner on a different mirror than what we do when we felt like, okay, there is clearly difference, but how, how to close them. So on team building front, I already taste the benefit of the uniqueness that it brings in. And I was waiting and saying, oh, one day if Gallup really go to offer a public program as per se, but not just to share that with the luxurious organization, that would be really wonderful. Until, last year, I think, when Gallup actually had the first coaching program being held in Singapore. And I talked to my husband, I say, I must go there. I mean, even I have to be there, for the whole week and pay for everything. Or otherwise, then, if Gallup is not coming in, I'm going to join them in the States or in UK, where they were holding classes. Through the journey, I felt a lot more empowered and able as well, because that gave me a deep ground to really understand the full profile of myself, as well as how do we use the tool. And there are certain very powerful exercise. It also brought me with a keyword lenses. How do we put on lenses to look into people's life, and what kind of lenses are we putting onto? And they're all brilliant insights for me, and helps me to open up. And have to say, throughout my experience on coaching, I felt quite confident. But the Gallup Strength Finder actually helped me to unlock every individual without knowing who they are, but simply asking to spend 40 minutes to do the Strength Finder assessment. That already gave me a very, very powerful dialogue to open up with the first discussion and give them insights to understand themselves better. Because simply, it is, surely the way how I describe it is the key that unlock who they are and understand the why. And then we will be able to work together to find out a more personalized solution and action plans towards their own investment. So I have to say I really love it simply because I have benefit from it. And now I naturally become an advocate of it because I really believe that's a great thing to do. I brought it back home again, and I did it again with the full 34 profile with my family, my husband, my boys, and now then we have a family profile that comes in, and now we understand why we will come into play on a bit aggressive terms because we have gotten quite a number of maximizers out there. So it's quite interesting to look at and very close to heart. And indeed, I have to say that even bring the relationship of all the family members closer together. And at the same time, I see my kids maturing coming out of it because they are able to appreciate the differences in between individuals within a family tie, as well as being able to reflect on themselves. How do they deal with some of their close friends? And I think that's a very, very empowering and wonderful journey for youngsters.
Great, thank you. No, interesting. You mentioned that you're able to extract insights for yourself from the conversation that you have. But I remember a testimonial that one of our coaches who went through in the course with you in November back here in Singapore, and she mentioned that she actually saw you showing while you were doing that mock coaching in our course, where you helped that person get the insights out of that, and she was just the observer. So I would love to hear more on that, not just from that perspective, but also with some of the clients that you coach. How do you, any particular tips and techniques that you use that helps your clients get the insights from those conversations, and how do you help that for the effective implementation of that in their life?
Yeah, definitely. I think first of all, we are using a tool as a strength finder. We are actually a tool for the individual. That's the first point I'd like to highlight. Because there are certain coaches that I work with, when they started with coaching, they felt that the coach is coming to change their life and change the individual. And some of the coaches that I work with actually knows a bit of different kind of tools, and they would be saying that, you know what, I'm not going to let you change me, and that's simply me. All right. But however, when we go down into the Strength Finder, it's a tool that are generated with results from the input of the individual, and we can't fake it. All right, unless the individual is not completing the assessment by themselves. But most of the time, when we use that as a guiding tool and relay the tool back onto their experience, actually a lot of stories resonates. And so far, when I applied Strength Finder with the coachee, despite some would be more difficult than the others because they got stronger character, but that will become, even more challenging, but quite fun to work around it because it's very rewarding when you get around. But when we help them to think about where are they at, what are they at raw talents, meaning they haven't developed their talents to be strengths, or they are already at strengths, where we will be put more emphasis to work on those that they have to work on. Then they can choose the type of investment, meaning the type of training, the type of things they want to work on when they have a clear goal to go towards. Then we go to revisit back into the way how they do things and how the way they may have overpowered with their own talents, or they have underused or have a subtle hidden talent that they haven't utilized about. So those conversations was quite interesting because it actually got plot back into scenarios where they have a lot of self-discovery. And at the same time, when they're noting the type of dots in life, it actually helps them to create a map when they connect the dots. And they would say, aha, now then, I know what I'm going to do. I'm not going to change everything, but simply I may need to be aware my boundary, be aware if I overpower, do I have mechanism or system or type of resource that help me to ensure there is a change of habit indeed, and be able to up gear certain skill that help me to be coming with. And more importantly, everybody is not alone. There's so much you can do, and there's so much you can't do simply by adopting and applying your strengths. People are a lot more open to work with people as team, and it actually opened a new territory of wider resource other than yourself, and it empowered the team and it built better teamwork as well. And I have to say, almost 100% of the clients told me the Strength Finder has been extremely accurate. And the other hand is that I have to say over 90% of the client that after the coaching using Strength Finder, they are a lot more happier person, as well as being more open to work with other people and work with other teams, and later on they become more successful.
Rita, we'd love to hear a particular story of an individual that you know would have coached, maybe like a before and after story, and how did you see that transition happen, and what did you in particularly do with that individual that really made that switch? You know, from our perspective, I think the most difficult aspect is what you do so well is generating those insights. What did you do in particular to really drive that, you know, person towards that insight and that story?
Towards the insight, I still remember that was a very short and powerful coaching moment for a few minutes. So in that particular insight, I still believe I have been keep on referring back to his strengths and ask the individual, how did you live with your strength in your daily life, and how did you build a connection towards it? Where was the state where you have exercised a strength? Have you overused it or have you underplayed it? And all for a sudden, when I asked the individual towards those questions, as well as asking the person to visualize where he wants to be, immediately he can reject his behavior. He can reject the type of actions that he wants to come in play towards his strengths. And out of that few minutes, the individual already gotten his own solution, how he's going to do it towards the goal that he wants to achieve as well. So it was pretty quite, you know, a powerful moment, because simply I have been questioning him, helping him to answer the questions, driving the answer within himself rather than giving me the answer. But it's all referenced with the Strength Finder on the top 5 that we have been using. And it becoming very, very easy. And immediately he say, wow, I now have a plan to meet my sales targets. And I know I have to act differently towards the sales pitches I have been put with the clients. And now, you know, I have a good few ideas how I'm going to do it, because simply this is what I can do, and I will be doing it well. And you see the type of confidence coming from the individual, and naturally, when he sit down and reorganize his thoughts, you know, the action plans and the strategies all come into play, and they're all at strengths. And I think that was the most wonderful moment, showing the power of it in a few minutes.
Great. No, I speak to a lot of coaches, and they tell me the prep work that, you know, coaches do to, you know, before a coaching conversation, that lays the foundation for a great coaching conversation. Tell me, what sort of preparation do you do, you know, before you get into a coaching conversation, either with an individual or with a team?
Yeah, right. Usually my preparation to do is I would definitely give a briefing about the tool, what we are going into, what to expect, so that they have a brief idea they are going into a strengths journey as per se. Usually that takes a bit of hour, especially for team, because sometimes when you ask someone to finish up questionnaire, they may have gone through some psychometrics tests before, and you know, they will be wondering what we are going to achieve. So giving them an expectation, empowering them, go through the journey, that's the starting point, and then we will regroup together later on to go through the results, to have a bit of learning in order to be that. For individuals, I usually will study the profile coming by, in particularly lining up with the 4 domains that we have, because I do want to, you know, understand their strength in a particular leadership domain, being either in execution, influencing, relationship building, or thinking. So whether they are a thinker, they are very good in execution, and then ties with them and ask them to bring in what their thoughts on the goals they want to achieve from the coaching as per se. So we're at the point when I go into the session, I'm quite prepared to have a bit of questions here and there to guide the person to resonate on the results and to explain clearly what the Strength Finder would impact them and help them to understand. That's the individual side. For a team, I would, you know, my take is that, you know, other than explaining to the team to set the context, I definitely need to engage with the line manager. What does he want to achieve coming out from the team coaching or the team exercise? All right, understanding where the starting point is and be able to relate the benefits of the Strength Finder towards that group of people in particular. Because some line managers could be quite immediate. They would say, okay, we just want to do some team building. Fine, fair enough. Then we will be focusing on understanding what comes in play was the 4 leadership domain. If they want to go for a longer term, a vision of utilizing the strength finding tool, then, I would definitely ask them, how's the organizational structure currently? Do a bit of consultancy coming out of it about the team and about the individuals, and what kind of challenges the managers are coming in play that he wants to solve. And that helps to relay, to bring out the message for better use of the team profile. Okay, and also be able to tackle some of those priorities and challenges towards a more strategic front. So I think that is also a blend of my HR skill that I work with line managers that comes in, other than just purely coaching. But at the end of the day, I think the way it would be is usually for a team context, it serves a few purposes. First of all, it brings into the common language of the team what we are talking about, of certain of these themes. Secondly, is about closing up the differences between members, because that is the diversity and inclusion piece comes in. And usually people work against diversity because they think people are different. But when now then they come into play and understanding the full, the full model of Strength Finder, people are easily more accepted about people are being different. Question is that how do we work complementary and how do we work as a team? And the other hand is that it also helps to inject certain learning component within the team as well. Because while understanding those differences, people are more fascinated and more interested to understand other themes and how do they interact with other themes as well, and building a future organization that comes in. So it's actually quite interesting, and I also learn from those journey and working with my clients, both individuals and teams as well.
I would love to hear that specific story that you mentioned about your team, right? And especially in the context of a Southeast Asian audience, if you could give us a little bit of business case, situation of what the team was going through, and how did you go about with the coaching that particular team, and what was the result that you saw? That'll really help the audience get it, that dig hands, deeper into how do we coach Southeast Asian audiences, teams in particular.
Yeah, definitely. I think the way it would be is it comes into play about different levels. First of all, on a managerial level, obviously by sharing with the managers and empowering the managers to understand Strength Finder, they come into play to strengthen their leadership understanding and the skills as well. So they're being aware that, I'm a person who is very good in executing and very good in thinking, but not necessarily in relationship building. And no wonder I don't have a good relationship with my team as a mix for an individual. Then that helps me to identify the key theme of the individual that we need to coach. And at the same time, how do we work around more personalized and individual solutions towards these managers to become a better leader? All right, because to me, to be a better leader, they have to create conditions for their people. And so much when people are with their own style, being a thinker, being very good in executing, as an example, they will be lacking of building the relationship piece. They will be, these managers sometimes could be less sociable, and that give the people, the other team members a different perception of being too cool to be a manager. But once they're being well aware of it, they can work on the social skill, networking skill, as per se. And then the other front is by giving the common language, bringing into the team. My experience is that when we talked about it, people feel a lot more empowered because they now have a common language. When they are able to work in an environment, the team really work like a team, but not just about subordinates and supervisors relationship, because it's very common in the Asian culture where there's a hierarchy there, people tend not to speak up. But now then, have a common language, people tend to feel more easy to talk about the common language in play, and they talk about team context as an example. And then the other thing is I often also provide follow-up to see how things are going after 6 months, so that at least a touch point towards the line manager, then we will be able to talk about maybe for future planning, how do we support these people to choose their training courses and skill relating to their profile after they have received, the short coaching that we provide for them as an individual. Because usually the group exercise will be more a team coaching exercise, and then afterwards it will become, if it is for a sophisticated setup, we will have individual coaching with the line managers, because we see that is crucial, and they are the enabler for teamwork as well. So when we are working with these managers individually, that come into the play about the theme for the team. What do they work on? How do they gear up the culture? How do they work together in order to achieve what they have decided? So I think the follow-up is very important, because one-off coaching doesn't help to change the habit, and the follow-up will definitely enforce certain habits to be established and re-established as well. So it's interesting towards that.
So when you say the group exercise, tell us a little bit more about that. What do you do in a group activity with a team?
Yeah, usually we will start, talking about bringing in for strengths awareness, understanding, so that everybody understand about the model, about the language, the theme, and the leadership domain as per se, and then we'll bring in to make them into groups and talked about similarities of certain themes as well. And the way how I usually I like to group people into different domains. There's a group of thinkers, there's a group of good execution people, and there's a group of relationship, builder, and a group of influencer, if we allow to, for particular group size. And they will be mingling about how different style they are, even with the theme within that domain. All right, that brings in immediate differentiation, even for talents within the domain. It could be quite different. All right, and we will be asking people to look through their top 5 and what resonates with them, the most strongly, because usually that will be the very typical style people see as who they are and what they are. And that helps me to also share their own experience with the group, rather than just purely using the materials, because we have, very good examples of the person describing themselves, and people will have a good laugh out of it, because, oh, this is who am I, and this is how my people sees it. And we will also spend quite a good time talking about the team profile as well, because simply it's important that we see as a group where these people are. Do we have more about a particular domain, or do we have some other tools or some other talents people should be partnering with and working more with as well? Or there are some hidden talents that they are not showing in their daily life, but indeed they could be very, very useful in their business activities. So I think that will be the 3 key core activities I usually will be having in a group activities that help people to fresh up in a fun way, but also bringing in the theory about talent, talents and strengths into life as well.
And when you create these partnerships, are these people within the same domains, or you kind of create partnership across domains, or both? How does that work out?
I would say partnership across domain, to be honest, Saraf. The grouping of that under each of the domain is to give them a little bit, similarity to start off. While thinker, they will be learning in different manner, but when we actually ask them to present as a group, the other party, the other domains will be seeing that, yeah, that's a group of thinker out there, and they're really thinking in different style and different way, but at the end of the day, they are still thinkers. All right. So when it comes into play about partnership, we are actually stretching out to all 4 domains as well, because this is how we see a complementary team will play in. And obviously, they also have to choose the type of talents they want to partner and create a good talent inventory or strength inventory within the team, because simply that also helps them to put project teams together, to put small team or virtual team in particular when the group are in different countries. So that is actually the Strength Finder. Indeed, a lot of clients have shared with me that is giving them a good guiding tool for forming teams within the organization. And when the teams are being put together, they really come at ease and they really work without overlap. And everybody will be excel and being able to sign up for their accountability very, very fluidly and smoothly.
Yeah, I really like that activity, the way you kind of break it down into domains and get them to partner with each other. I think it also builds a lot of awareness, appreciation, and also in many ways acceptance. Just sometimes if you not like the person, you might want to typecast and, oh, why aren't you like me? But now I think this builds acceptance with them, which is fantastic. Any aha moments that you got out of that? I'm sure a lot of the team members got so many aha moments from this activity, but something that you extracted for yourself.
Oh yes, definitely. And I think many of the aha moment is when I come in play. My aha moment is sometimes the aha moment doesn't come in play until you really push it through, and you never know when it's going to happen until you really try hard about it. So my take on it, if you want to achieve more aha moment, and same for me, is I will maximize it. Until they are there, and most of the case I have to say it works, and sometimes my aha moment is like there's a case where I try with a particular coachee when during that session when we have explained, he understands where that strength coming in, but he hasn't come into a point to accept that's who he is as well. So we come on board to bring in linkage towards his strengths profile and his goals, and trying to find out the way to meet his goals towards that. And my aha moment is I actually pushed it, but I also pushed it up to a point where I stopped it. And I say, okay, let's call for the day and let's not to track further, simply because I sense that you need more time to digest it. And one thing I did notice is using Strength Finder is we also need to empower the coachee to ensure that they are accepting towards who they are. Until that point, they're claiming it, then the power will come naturally. And I deliberately, for that coaching, I remember I stop it and call for the day, and we say, okay, I'm not coming back next week. Let's keep 2 weeks away from this coaching exercise, and we'll follow up in 2 weeks' time. And I was courageous because he could have walked away and thought that I'm not a supportive coach. But by then, about 10 days later, the individual actually texts me and say, I have something come in mind this morning, and here's my idea. And we did a power coaching over WhatsApp for 10 minutes. And that was very, very wonderful. It was even more effective from the, for the 90 minutes. And then he said, wow, after that 10 minutes, he said, well, now I've got a plan, so I know what to do. So let's catch up on Monday, and then we'll talk through it. And I think my aha moment at that point of time was we should come in play, and we will be able to maximize over it when the coaches are all ready. And we need to give them time, and we need to support them by giving them all the right checkpoints, but at the same time, standing by them, respecting their space. I think that was my wonderful aha moment using Strength Finder.
I love that example that you just gave. I think in many ways it kind of also highlights the point that sometimes that 1 hour may not lead a person to that aha moment for themselves, but the ideas that you leave them behind with could kind of unpack in their minds over a period of time. That's when the really aha moment, it builds up to that aha moment that they may have over time, and it could even happen just over a WhatsApp conversation, which is phenomenal. So
yes.
For all the coaches that are in live, don't lose hope in some of the difficult clients that you're coaching. Keep connecting with them, keep on that WhatsApp communication, and you might just lead them to a better journey in their life. So thank you so much for sharing that, Rita. Also, we do have a lot of coaches logged in live who would love to hear any tips and techniques that you would have for them, any advice that you would have for them, especially working with teams, considering there's so many different variables at play. What would you recommend them with your significant experience that that they should be doing for a more effective team coaching?
Yeah, definitely. I think the first thing I would advise is really sit down with the key stakeholders, understanding their needs, understanding the type of challenges they have been through before you even start the exercise. Because my style of it is I don't actually offer a standard coaching for teams, and usually I like the team to get the most out of that exercise, because we have been spending humongous time for senior leaders and important people to group together, even for a day or a few hours on a cumulative basis. So usually we'll be agreeing on the type of outcome we want to arrive, and go very focusedly towards it. And then the other hand is do a lot of preparation after you have received the profile. Look at that, identify the trend, identify the pattern, understanding, projecting the type of dynamic environment that you may be facing, looking into those type of domains and themes that may come apart from the profile, because that will be a very, very good starting point to be successful in terms of managing the workshop. Because by looking into those profiles, I may be thinking about different type of activities or different tools that I'm going to bring in, and that helps them to be more effective. Wherever possible, talk to other than the leaders who is actually championing or sponsoring for that activity. Talk to a few key stakeholders. Ask the sponsor who are the key players that make the impact, and go talk to them. Get them a bit of buy-in. Spend some time, to allow them to understand what StrengthsFinder is about, so that they have some insights that they can bring along. So the engagement, the preparation, I think I would say is definitely very important. And by doing so, I think usually it is quite a formula for success for doing team coaching. And of course, the other hand is ensuring everybody has a fair play in the group coaching exercise. Because there will be some who will be more talkative, but the powerful ones usually who come around with more silent ones as well, especially intellection. So that is my experience, and I think so far, and I'm happy to hear more from others how others are doing that.
Great. Also, from your perspective, you coach. I want to move another track right now. You coach parents, right? How has that experience been? I'm sure a lot of people now with universities becoming strength-based campuses would love to hear, how do you coach parents?
That's an interesting one, to be honest, because usually when parents require coaching, they always start off with something wrong with my boy and something wrong with my daughter. and they think, it's their teenager, because usually the parents that I go through would be more the teenager or teenager to be for that age group. And from my experience, that is also the most difficult time where ourselves as parents has to transform from a parent into more a developer or coach state, where we stand by for more mature development for the youngsters. Usually I start off, interestingly, hearing out what are their needs, what type of challenges they were facing, and coming in around asking them, maybe before bringing your kids in, shall we do a strength finder to understand your style first? All right, and that's where the self-discovery comes into play. And I've got experience working with a pair of couples coming by talking about that, and interestingly, instead of doing parenting coaching, I end up doing couple coaching, relationship coaching. and that was quite fascinating, because it was becoming a more 3D dialogue and a more 3D coaching. Because when the two individuals, how they interact, they brought in components into the parenting style and what kind of role they have been playing as a father, as a mother towards the kids. And while they know later on what are their strengths are and what do they have to work on, they are able to adjust their style. Actually, the couples become a more lovely couple and a more better relationship. And actually, that brought in a lot of more appreciation into the family. And the positive energy, actually, I did not coach the teenagers at all. It's just that the parents has changed their communication style, the way how they cope with the family and how they get along together and manage their daily life. So that was also quite a wonderful moment for me, and I say, haha, again, I thought I did something on parenting, but indeed, we are talking about well-being, we are talking about relationship. And now then, you know, whenever I see them on Facebook, they become a lot more wonderful parents, and they have a lot more joy to share with us because their life becoming more beautiful.
Wonderful stories on that. And while you can always have a coach to help you coach as parents, but I'm sure a lot of parents would be watching this video after this. What is your advice to parents who may end up coaching their own kids? For example, from your own experience of coaching your own teenagers, how does that play out for you? And maybe coaching your husband, right?
Well, not too much about coaching husband. I'm also very careful about saying that, coaching your loved ones is the most difficult task in the world, and be very carefully planned out. It's something that I always say it's very joyful if you can accept that authentic moment, but it also has to be very careful because it's a relationship we all want to preserve as well. For me, bringing in, the way it would be is, I start off with individual coaching first, looking about their profile, helping them to understand who they are, and understanding, their own style and how do they relate with friends. And those moments, especially for my two teenager boys, those are very, very productive and wonderful moments because we don't come around with my interest into play, which sometimes could be conflicting, all right? But when we relate those strengths into their life, I get to know them better. I get to know them, who they are, and how do they mix with their friends, and how do they get along or having conflicts with their friends. And through that conversation, I felt they also learned something. They know, actually, because of that, I have to be toning down of certain things that I will be doing. And we'll be able to talk about strategies already when those stories are coming into play, and it's becoming very, very natural. And after I've done the individual one, I also agree on strategy. So say, for example, I would agree with my husband, his top strengths, his top talents about significance, where I agree with him that when you come around to talk to me, give me a signal whether you want me to listen or you want me to comment. Because whenever I felt I'm contributing a comment, he felt I'm undermining him. And that's always come into play in their past. So there are strategies, very simple strategies that you can apply. And at the time when we make ourselves clear, he received it better, I listen better, and I behave better. And it becoming more fluid. The other level come in play is that I put all my family members on a team profile as well. So after I've done it, I look at them and I share that with them. I say, aha, whenever we have a lot of energies because 3 out of 4, we have maximizer in the top 5. Okay? First of all, it's a check on balance that we are a family. It's the DNA. And secondly, is really about that when we noted we are overly strong in particular area, then we would definitely be more cautious that we can have a step back when we reach that moment. And we are also quite good thinkers as a group, as a unit, as a family. So we definitely will count on a particular member for execution in order to make things happen. So now then we do have roles that we assign, and we also have agreed the type of roles that come into, say, for example, if we need to organize a trip to somewhere for the planning, who's going to do it, who's going to do the booking, who's going to do the research, and then we can easily work together as a team as well, even for a family unit. So that's why it's totally pluggable and very easy to plug in, and as I said, I really love it.
Wow, that's a beautiful story of seeing how the Gallup, the Clifton Strengths Finder cuts across not just work but into the personal life as well. And just for everybody to know that Gallup is launching the book called Strengths-Based Parenting towards the end of the year. So watch out for that. That'll be really exciting, especially for parents who want to work with their kids more effectively. And I think important point that you mentioned earlier, Rita, was that working with your loved ones is very sensitive, and you got to be very careful with that. So I would highly recommend people, parents especially, to have external coaches to come and work with them. And coaching is not a negative term. You ask any sports athletes, call in Usain Bolt or Roger Federer and ask them, what will happen if I take away your coach from you? And they'll say my performance will go down because my coach is somebody who takes my talent turns into performance, takes my abilities and turns into an Olympic gold medal. And that's why I think every individual in the world should have a coach that turns, and your maximizer would agree with this, that turns, the goodness in us to become greatness, right?
Yes.
So I think thank you so much, Rita. That was wonderful. Beautiful stories you shared right across the work life as well as, the home life. Jim, do you have any question from the audience or from yourself for Rita?
Not at this point. We did have some, but I think Rita, you did a great job of kind of covering everything that we had to do, that you were talking about tonight. Particularly excited to hear about the parenting, because that has been, for me, that has been a huge deal to be able to take strengths to both my marriage as well as my kids. So I appreciate you chiming in on that as well.
Thank you, Jim.
So if we're ready to you want me to bring this in for a landing as we wrap it up here?
Absolutely. I'm done with question. I think, Rita pretty much, nailed it from the questions point of view. I think from my perspective, she answered all the questions that I was hoping, to learn from. So thank you, Rita, for sharing all those wonderful insights.
You're welcome.
Well, we will remind individuals, and it's been a challenge all night to keep this video up and running. So I apologize right now as we're trying to switch the video over to make it work. Just 1 second here. To get that, well, Sarv, it's going to be on you, but I'll be talking, so you can just move your mouth as I'm doing.
Okay, great.
They'll think it's you. We want to remind everyone to take full advantage of all the resources we have available through the Gallup Strengths Center. That's just GallupStrengthsCenter.com. Send us your questions and comments. If you'd like to join us as a guest blogger on our blog, and you can send those coaching@gallup.com. You can also catch the recorded audio and video of this show and all the past ones, including links to our Facebook group and our YouTube page, and our meetup groups. If you haven't been a part of the meetup groups, big thing going on in Singapore with that. Alex, who's out in our chat room tonight, does a great meetup every last Sunday of the month in Singapore, and so we want to highlight that. If you're in the U.S., we have meetup groups in the Bay Area as well as Oklahoma City and Austin, and I want to make those available. All that stuff, one address, coaching.gallup.com, and all that information is out there as well. Sarv, anything you want to highlight coming up as far as coaching courses that are going?
Absolutely. So, we are launching our first inaugural, course in Hong Kong from the 15th till the 18th of September. So, if you're interested, you would learn more about it, reach out to us at, you can email me at saurav_atri@gallup.com to learn more about it. You can also log on to our website, Gallup-Strengthscenter.com, and you can sign up for the course there, and there are many other resources available online to learn more about that particular course. We do have our course coming up in Singapore as well, just before the Hong Kong course, from the 8th till the 12th of September. We've just got a few more seats left for that. It's a great course. We've got some really exciting people already signed up for it, and there are people from around the world. So we've got people from China coming in, people from Hong Kong coming in, and obviously from Singapore. So we are really looking forward to that one. Like I said, the movement is already on. You got over 10 million people worldwide who've taken the Strengths Finder, and we've got our courses being launched across in New Zealand, in Australia, in India, which is doing remarkably well. We've got courses in Bangalore, in Bombay. We've got a great team of people working there as well, and obviously Singapore. We've launched courses a year ago. It's kind of crazy to think about that. We just started this a few months ago, and it's already picked up so much steam. And there are people who are so big enthusiasts about strengths, and we had the opportunity and the privilege to be working with them closely, and Rita being one of them. So thank you so much, Rita, for coming today, taking time off your schedule and sharing these wonderful insights. Thank you so much, Jim, for logging in so late at your time, literally midnight, and doing this, all across the world. So thank you.
You bet.
That's it from my end.
With that, Rita, thank you. Sarv, thank you, and we'll say goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.